Hey everybody, today I am updating you on eyeshadow palettes. But before we get started, if you are new to my channel, welcome. But if you're an oldie but goodie, welcome on back. My name is Ashley and I have a doctorate in pharmacy, and that's how you get Dr. Ash and her makeup. But please just call me Ash or Ashley. And I truly enjoy eyeshadow. So I'm ranking my palettes, not all my palettes. I'm ranking some of the last 10 palettes that I have tried out. So I'm actually cutting it off at where I had the I want to say like the Juvia's Place palettes were some of the last palettes I tried. And I know I have more videos posted, but I want to get the Triochrome, I want to get the Wahala, and a couple of other palettes that I've done videos on recently a little bit more chance, and like the Naughty Nudes, and I just want to keep like using them so I can really just give you my informed opinions. So as you know, it's like really no secret, I love eyeshadow like I just said, and I try out a lot of eyeshadow palettes on my channel. But where I felt guilty is that I don't always come back and update you on how the palettes have been performing. Like, even though I do a lot of looks, I touch practically almost every shade because I've been doing a lot of, you know, one palette, 3 looks on my channel. But I really wanted to come back and give you my thoughts. So I decided to rank the eyeshadow palettes that I've tried out recently. Like I said, these are most recent, but not the latest ones, because like I said, I just want a little bit more time with them. So I would say really that none of the palettes in the bunch that I have to talk about have been bad or performed poorly. So this ranking them is really kind of hard. But the ranking system is not new. I know Jen Loves Reviews has done this time and time again, and like Samantha March has picked it up, and Karen Harris has done it, and so many creators. But it is kind of a good way to kind of see how you feel about the palette. So this is in between this bunch. This is how I feel about the palettes, and I'm going to give you my opinions on, you know, should you pass, should you not pass, you know, and all of that. Okay, so starting off with number 10, I would say that this particular palette is probably, it's not a bad palette, but it's probably least of my aesthetic when it comes to my makeup. And this is the Everyday Eyeshadow Palette by Mented Cosmetics. Now, it's not a poor performing palette. It picks up nicely, but it's more muted. It's more toned down. You don't have any high performing shimmer shades like I tend to grab for. And some of the matte shades, they are kind of like muted. Now, everything blends out very well. I've enjoyed the 2 or 3 looks that I have done with this palette, and I haven't had any problems with it. But for me, it's just like, it's just not my typical aesthetic. If you guys been watching me for now, you know I like really impactful shimmers. I like some bold mattes. Even if it's a neutral palette, I still like the shimmers to be popping. I still like to give different options with my mattes, and for me this palette is falling a little bit flat with that. So that's why I brought this in at number 10. And now it doesn't perform badly, but if you just like a really like a soft monotone look, maybe with a small slight shimmer to go to work, then this is the palette for you. But that doesn't tend to be me. I'm going to go ahead and take number 9 and number 8 together. So these are from the Juvia's Place Royal collection that just came out. So I'm going to go ahead and I will put actually at number 9 will be the Royal collection, the Royal palette. And now this is a 6-pan palette and it's all purple. The purple shades are actually really, really beautiful in here. And I have gotten some great looks out of it. You can do the mattes, you have a couple of really impactful shimmers. I love the shade right here. These don't have any shade names. And then this one is a really dark purple color. And you do have one pressed glitter. So that just kind of like, when it comes to the palette, because it's only really 5 shades that I can work with. But with Juvia's Place, you know, it's affordable, so it's like okay, we don't really like the pressed glitters, but you know, we'll deal with it because it's affordable. Ironically, when I did my video, I liked the performance of this particular palette better because I felt like you could get different looks. But then I went ahead and ranked this at number 8 because when I looked at the footage from the video, I actually enjoyed this look better, the Royal. This is actually the Nubian Glow. So when I have used the Nubian Glow on my own, I feel like the shimmers are just really pretty. You get some really pretty tangerine orange. you get some really nice golden colors that don't always come in your palettes. You know, we're so used to having gold shades, purples also we're used to kind of having as of right lately. But these do really pack an interesting color shift to them. I especially love these two shades, and I love this particular orangey tangerine matte. That is not a matte that we find in most palettes. You might be able to find it maybe in like the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette, but you're not going to find that in most particular palettes. You do have a very strong lemon gold in here, so I kind of feel like when it talks about yellow golds, but you know, at the end of the day, it does perform very well. Like I said, you have a plus glitter, but you know, it's Juvia's place, so you're like, okay, we're gonna let you slide, but stop doing it, thanks. So these are number 9 and number 8. So coming in at number 7, we have the Kaleidos Sashimi City, and this is new to their lineup. This is actually the Futurism 7 palette. So these Futurism palettes, they are just so gorgeous. I love the layout. I love the color stories. I mean, the packaging is bomb. It just looks so creative. And I love how they named this after sushi. And the 2 shimmer shades in here are freaking gorgeous. They're very pigmented. They have a lot of glitter. And so if glitter is not for you, you might want to shy away. But what I do like about this palette is like you can get a very gorgeous, like kind of soft look, but you got a lot of pow with your shimmer shades. So the pink shade, which is called, I want to say Pink Ginger, and it's such an appropriate name. It has a beautiful duochrome kind of shift to it. It has a lot of sparkle. It has a lot of opulence. It brings a lot of light to the eyes. You will get some fallout, so make sure that you do, you know, your base makeup last if that's what you usually do. But I feel like these shimmer shades are very impactful, and they kind of rival, like Pat McGrath. Like, it is something to be said about the shimmer formula. The matte formula with Kaleidos is also very good. I do like that you get some different depth with this particular palette. So I feel like this is a neutral palette with a pop. It's very neutral with a pop of pink, and that's why I like it more compared to like the Mented palette, because even though it's neutral, you have those impactful shimmers, and that's what I'm looking for with the palettes. So coming in right behind the Sashimi City is the Lunar Lavendar, and this is also from Kaleidos. This is one of the newest releases as well. And this little 6-pan palette is beautiful as well. Like, so this ranking video was just so hard for me. It was just like, ugh. But look at this Lunar Lavendar. It is like neutral, but you get bright, but you get depth with this deep chocolate shade. And I think it's really, really pretty. Now in the video, I didn't have any problems layering the mattes, but then like in person, or I guess real life, you know, when I was trying to work really quickly and kind of get out the door to go to work, I had a little patchiness with this particular shade. So that did kind of upset me. It wasn't bad, but it was just like not the same thing that I experienced when I used the palette at first. So the reason why I kind of gave this palette on the number 6 spot instead of number 7 versus the Sashimi City, it's just because like these 2 colors are just stunning. So like I said, like they knocked it out the park again with the shimmer shades. Like these 2 shimmer shades are just gorgeous. They're so opulent. They have so much foil. Like they just really set off this color story, but I really prefer this color story when I'm talking versus this particular one. So that's why this particular palette came in number 6. But it was just a little upsetting that the mattes were just performed just a little bit underperforming. Coming in at number 5, we have She's in Parties. And so you guys know I love a good burgundy purple color story. So this color story was just so up my alley, and the performance of this palette was just excellent. I felt like you could just get some very great, deep, dark, sultry looks with this palette, but at the same time you can get some very wearable, some lighter shade looks when you stick with these particular 3 shades, and even just maybe include this matte and then just a hair of the shade Mean Streak. I did actually wear the shade She's in Parties as a 1 shade all over the lids. It was beautiful. The metallics in here are very pretty, except this one, it has more foiledness, has more glitter particles. This one has a little bit more shine to it because, you know, it's like an inner corner shine. But these 3 right here are very like You can blend them in the crease. They blend out very well. So they play like a matte also. So I really think like Melt knocked it out the park with this particular color story. Like this particular palette was once a stack. I did not have the stack, but you just got some great looks. The mattes laid up very well. The shimmers are not crumbly at all. Now this shade, I did notice when I was starting to film this video, it is a crack in it across here. So I'm not sure about why that is, but I just kind of pressed my finger in it to kind of put the shadows back together. I know Melt does sometimes have a problem with some of the shades like puffing up out the pan, when specifically when you talk about like the Smoke Sessions palette. Like that palette is it tends to be disastrous when it comes to people like in transit. But I just felt like the color story is very like it's very on theme, it's very consistent, and even though for a monochromatic palette you can just get so many different types of looks with this palette, and I've really enjoyed it. Number 4 is the Sigma Untamed palette. Now this palette, I'm just like, you know what, Sigma, I'm sorry it took me so long to try your formula, because this palette is just like the perfect fall palette. I did talk about it in my 10 palettes I recommend for fall, but the formula is so great. I mean, like the shimmers are stunning, the mattes are stunning, they're pigmented. As Kara would say, is not one bad seed in the house. I mean, like you have so many different color stories, or you could just like jump around in the palette. You got like a quad here, you got a quad there, you got a quad here, you got a quad at the end. Or you could just skip around. Like everything works so well together. Every time I pull out this palette, like I know I'm gonna get a great look. I really enjoyed this mustard shade boho because like it actually shows up as a mustard shade on my skin complexion. That is just so hard to find. When you're a woman of color or you're my complexion or deeper, like having a mustard shade that actually shows up mustard, like, okay, first of all. Then you got one of their great dual head brushes in the palette that I actually still use. But like the shimmers were just great. I think like they just really knocked it out the park, and I really enjoy this formula. I have not tried Sigma prior to this, and I'm just like, I need to give them some more thought when I look at their palette. So I really enjoyed this. And then the packaging is so dope. Look at the velveteen on the front, and then look at the back, you have the shade name. So I just love it. It feels heavy, but it feels light at the same time. So if you was to throw this in your bag to go traveling, well, okay, well, most of us are not traveling right now, but if you, in my mind, if I was to go away for a weekend, I would not have a problem taking this palette, because I know I would get some very like daytime appropriate, lots of choices with my daytime looks, and I could amp it up at night. And so when I travel, I like to just take one palette, or maybe one palette and one maybe 6-pan palette, and I would have no problem popping this in my bag. And I just think like I would just get so many different versatile looks using this palette. So I have just really been enjoying. Number 3 is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. So like cool tones, you know, they like just sneaking on in there. I have on a cool tone look today, and I did list the palette down in the description box of what I'm wearing today. And like she did a great job with this palette. I have really been enjoying it. Now, okay, I know a lot of people like are kind of like hit and miss when it comes to the names, but honestly, I don't even give a care. Like I don't care what they're called. They could be called Mickey Mouse Built a House, Donald Duck messed it up. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna put the shadows where I want to put the shadows. So I feel like a lot of people, okay, I don't want to speak for them, and I don't want to like discredit anybody, because like clearly when you have a shade named Transition, and as a black woman, like this is not a transition shade that I would normally go in with. Now, I did try it as a transition shade. I have tried it as a transition shade in real life, and it's been fine. And I really feel like it's been great to blend out the shade Smoke. And I really like the shade Lash Line, even though that's more like an outer corner shade to me. But I feel like everything has just been beautiful. Like this is just a timeless palette. Like no matter when you pull it out, it's going to be appropriate. You can get the work looks. You can get the everyday looks because it's soft. You have something that kind of goes with every color scheme. You got something with the soft silvers. You have something for the soft gold. You have something for the pewters and the taupes. And I really do enjoy taupes. Like back in the day, you know, I used to wear like satin taupe from MAC all the time with like the vanilla pigment. Like that was my go-to look back in the days. Like just that was what I wore. So like, it's kind of nice to get back to the cool tones, and I've really been enjoying them. Like, you know, as long as they're done right. And I feel like these are done right where you're not on your complexion looking ashy and looking like that doesn't blend well, because prior to that, you know, cool tones have been kind of hit or miss. But I feel like the palette, the formula is great. It's Natasha Denona. The shimmers are impactful. You have some that are softer. You have some more are foil. You have a couple that are more crystalline and topper in nature, which is pretty. And it's not too many of those, because I don't like so much when shimmers are topper. It's like, no, give me the full thing, especially like if you're in the pan looking like the full thing. So I've really been enjoying this, and I've been pulling this out time and time again. So coming up with the last two, I have the Interstellar Icons quad. I've actually done quite a few videos. I did like a review video on this quad. I did a look with this quad when I teamed up with Yachty and Kara from Yachty Beauty and Beauty and the Friends. And then I also went in and compared it side by side with the Dark Star 6-pan palette. So this quad is just beautiful. It's stunning. It's complete looks. It's daytime appropriate to me, because the shade Divine Dahlia is just such a beautiful smoky brown taupe. It is just beautiful. It's cool tone and warm tone at the same time. And although this quad does have one repeat shade, I'm like partial to it because I love me some Blue Blood. Like, that's a shade that I've always rocked with ever since Decadence came out. And then you have the pop. Like, this is just a fun pop, like hypnotique. Like, you can just put it over the lid. It's beautiful. It has so much light to it. It's blue. And it has purple in it. It's just a beautiful shade. I said it's blue, but of course it's blue. Duh. And then you have the shade Golden Polaris. And it's such a beautiful, warm, rosy gold. And I feel like the color story is just like undeniably beautiful. The formula is great. You don't have to worry about not having a matte, because once again, Blue Blood is going to come through with that Pat McGrath formula. You could blend that shimmer out in the crease and it's going to look stunning. So this right here has been a definite winner. And number one is by Mother Pat herself again, and this is the Celestial Divinity. So like, y'all know, like, this is my color aesthetic on a regular basis. Like, this is something like, first of all, it has a green duochrome in it, so you know I'm all about the green shadows. I love green shadows. Then it has my purples, it has my berries, it has my red shadows. You know I'm about the red. It has, first of all, the Star Wars palettes from last year were hands down, when I did my ranking video of Pat McGrath, came in at like number 6. They came in high middle of the list, and I have quite a few of her palettes. But these are the Star Wars shades again, and I used them, and then, but I felt bad talking about them because it was a mess trying to get those palettes for a lot of people. Like, the only mess for me was just the shipping, and it just took a minute. But well, actually, no, it was a mess because I was just like so afraid that I wasn't even going to get it. So I ordered one palette. I was released on Instagram the day before, so I ordered it. I was literally like on an airplane, y'all, like plane about to take off, ordered it when it came out, was able to secure it. Then the next day I was in Mexico, the next palette came out, and it was just like I ordered one separately because I was afraid that one was going to sell out, and I didn't get that one. I think it was this one. Either way, it was kind of a mess. Okay, so, but then she went ahead and added 6 more new shades. And these 6 new shades are actually really, really stunning. The only shade that I probably don't really care so much for is Lunar Champagne. So the thing about Lunar Champagne is, like, it's a great color. It looks great swatched out. But then when you start putting it on the eye, it doesn't always translate that well because it's not so smooth. It's very gritty. And although these particular shades in here have a lot of grit to them, it blends out very easily. Like, it looks chunky, but it blends out. Lunar Champagne is just not that. So that one is just kind of a, I'm not mad about the color, but it's just really more of the formulation. I feel like Megabyte is beautiful. The other day, like I had like literally like 5-6 minutes to do my makeup. I literally just went in with this Major Mahogany and put Megabyte on the lid and was out the door. This particular matte shade, which is Venetian Orchid, is great. It comes off a little bit darker. So that's the thing with mattes. Like even though it looks light, it's 9 times out of 10 it's going to work. It's going to look good on your skin complexion. Major Mahogany is a great brown because it has like some purples in it. It can sheer out. It can go really deep. You just have a large variety of shimmers, and I just kind of like going into this palette when I'm rushing and just be like, you know, take Major Mahogany or whatever, or Venus Boy, throw it in the crease and put a shimmer on. I'm done. Like, the hardest choice I gotta make is what shimmer to put on my eyelid. They're all beautiful. I really like the shade Dragonfly. It's like a beautiful duochrome. I know we've seen that shade so many times. The red brown, the blue brown shades that MAC has done. There's a version of it in Mel Thompson's palette, the Tiny Marbles. But this one just has a little bit more of the lime green leaf reflex, and I really appreciate that. And it's a beautiful as an inner corner highlight when you're pairing it with this particular shade, which is Smoked Amethyst. Standout shade from the Star Wars. Stand out. And I want to also say that this is in Metamorphosis. So even though you have like so many just kind of repeat shades, it was a good value of a palette. I love the new 6 shades. I don't feel bad talking about it when I'm recommending something on my channel. Like, you know what shades from Pat McGrath were great? Those Star Wars. But guess what? You can't get your hands on it probably because of licensing deals, and the bots took over. The people who just want to resell makeup at like the highest price possible, which really annoys the crap out of me because, like, why would you do that? Like, now somebody who really wanted it can't get it. Kind of like what happened with the Supreme lipstick. That was just really effing irritating. But this was number 1 for me. The ranking could kind of change if any day I feel. All the palettes were great. Nothing was a dud. So like, I just ranked it so I could give it to you in some type of context. But really, some of these palettes are kind of like nothing alike, you know, other than maybe the 2 little duos, the Juvia's Place and the Kaleidos. But everything had its own theme. I just appreciated none of the color stories were too much alike in this particular ranking video. So this was pretty hard for me to do. So stay tuned for this because I'm going to be talking more about the palettes that I have come on here and shown you, because I want to give you guys some follow-ups and some like, ooh, yeah, just stay away. It wasn't as good as we thought it was, or yeah, like this is just performing for me every single time, not skipping a beat. So with that being said, let me know down below which of the palettes do you have. Have you thought about any of these other palettes, or now you're thinking like, maybe not? Let me know down below in the comments. You know I love to chat with you guys. Give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because you know I would love to have you here in my little makeup family. And it's time for the chair dance. So if you don't know how the chair dance started, it started with my very first video that I posted on YouTube, which was about 2 years ago now. Back in 2018, it was with Mothership 5. So I was just so elated that I filmed the material and got through it. I was in focus. I was like, okay, this is good. And I kind of did like, I did it. And then it's just evolved from there. And if you know me in real life, I love to dance. You can't get me to sit down. Even when I was hurt, when my leg was all busted up, I was doing a mean chair dance at my family members' weddings. So that's where the chair dance came from. So chair, chair dance, hey, 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 chair dance, chair dance, chair dance, chair dance, chair dance. All right, guys, bye.